Everything that you put your logo on represents your brand, whether it's intentional or not. And that is the biggest thing we are trying to imply on this show and through KP Innovations and Beyond the Swag is everything that we do is marketing. Everything. We are all marketing and sales companies. You're a marketing and sales company. I'm a marketing and sales company. A roofer is a marketing and sales company. And it's how can we build the trust? I tell roofers all the time, you're not a roofing company. You are a marketing and a sales company. You are not trying to sell the client a roof. And I love when I tell people that because they look at me and they're like, what? Yeah, we are. And I'm like, no, you're not. You are building trust that you can do the job right, that they can trust you, and that you're going to show up and do the job. And a lot of that comes down to the presentation that you show your company. And that goes beyond just the logo on the website. Is your truck wrapped? Is your guy showing up in a professional looking polo or t-shirt or hoodie? You look at some of the biggest companies in all of these industries, no matter what they are. Promotional products is not just apparel and hats. It's everything.
Welcome to Beyond the Swag. Merch is Media, the podcast where we go beyond logos, giveaways, and leftover budgets and talk about how branded merchandise actually functions as marketing, media, and brand experience. On this show, we sit down with founders, operators, and brand leaders to unpack the real decisions behind the brands you see. What works, what doesn't, and how the details people overlook often make the biggest impact. I'm your host, Kevin Patrick. This is Beyond the Swag.
Welcome back to another episode of Beyond the Swag podcast. I'm excited to be here today with Eric Withaar from Premium Custom Products. Eric brings over 30 years of knowledge in the promotional products industry on the decorator side of things, and I'm excited to have him on to dive further beyond the swag, beyond the logos, and really dive into the importance of understanding the different processes of being able to put logos on things. It's not just something that is, throw on whatever works. There is kind of a thought process behind it. So Eric, thanks for joining the show. I'm excited to learn from you as well. I mean, I feel like I know a lot of things, but you got some more experience than I do. And I'm curious to see maybe learn something new every day. So thanks for joining the show.
Hey, you're welcome. Thanks for having me, Kevin. This is good.
I appreciate it. Give me a quick little rundown of what you guys do and, the different processes that you guys handle on a daily basis.
Yeah. So, just a brief history of me real quick. I've been in the business. I started the business out of my home in 1989. I was actually working on a beer truck and went to college to be a school teacher. And back in 1989, they were not paying school teachers that much. And in the summertime, what's that? Still not.
I
right,
said they're
exactly.
still not.
Exactly. And in the summertime when I was going to college, I worked on a beer truck. And so I got done with college and they were paying a school teacher about 17 grand. And so I got on a beer truck and just started working hard and I was making good money. I got back then I saw an ad in a magazine about getting into the apparel and promotional products decoration business. So that's what I did. I sent the guy a check and he sent me a box of catalogs and a videotape. And this is say how you do it. And it just started part-time. And then in 91, I took it on full-time and haven't looked back since. So it's been a crazy journey the last 30 years. I had a company for many years that was pretty well known called Sportco and ended up selling it to a bigger company and had to stay on and run it for 5 years. 5 turned into 7 on a cocktail napkin. But I sold my company to a really big company and they moved like the Titanic. They'd never make a decision. Yeah. And so I just didn't want to do it any longer, gave them plenty of notice. And they hired somebody from outside the industry to come run the company. And about 6 months later, they called and asked if I wanted to buy it back. And so I made them an offer and they didn't take it and they let me out of my agreement. And that's when I started Premium Custom Products. And I saw a change in the industry of just in time and different decoration types. And so I bought some equipment and I had some of my previous customers that I did business with. And we work with distributors doing contract decoration, kitting fulfillment, all that kind of stuff. So I saw technology really taking a big step with connecting into back of e-commerce stores. And so, we bought screen printing and embroidery equipment. And as we started to build our business, I bought a laser machine, a pad printing machine, direct to garment, direct to film. We do a lot of heat transfer. So, again, working with the distributors, partnering with them, because I looked at them as my salespeople to go out and sell my decoration. So, we built our business doing multiple types of decoration in-house. And, when COVID hit, I said, boy, we got to take a look at this because, trade shows and, marketing budgets are going to be slashed. And we're not going to be doing 500 sweatshirts and sending them to a trade show or T-shirts because that's all going to come to an end. We got to connect into our customers' e-commerce stores. So that's what we did. I had a buddy that worked for Texas Instruments and doing technology for them, and he got furloughed, and he was, I'd run into him at a local gin mill every now and then and see what he's doing. And I said, you need to come in and we need to do some technology. So he came in and dialed it in with connecting our system to the back end of our customers' e-commerce stores. They were running for distributors were running for customers, and people would place orders on the e-commerce store, come into our system. So we decorate it, kit it, fulfill it, whatever. And that really set us apart because of all our different decoration techniques that we're doing. And that's how we built our business. And that's probably one of our biggest growth areas is the decoration along with the kitting and fulfillment. We had an order a few years ago for a distributor for Northrop Grumman. And it was 25,000 T-shirts, and it was just 3-location print, front, left chest, back, on the sleeve. And we had to send them out to 25,000 individual addresses. So that was a big deal, right? And, we had the technology to do it, and we printed them, and we shipped 25,000 T-shirts to individual employees, and we had 2 missed shipments. And it wasn't even our fault. It was the wrong addresses that were given to us, So, and I said, again, this is just the way it's going to be now, because people are not going to be in their offices as much with COVID. We're going to have to ship things to people's homes, and that's where it's still there. It's still
No, we just did it for a brand new client. We only had 78 locations to send it. Thank gosh. I didn't have 25. I think I would have going crazy with that, but
we had plenty of time. We had 60, 90 days to do it. So the distributor was great with that, but it was a lot to do. And just walking through our warehouse today, I'm just, I see like 4 decoration kitting, embroidery and screen printing. We got an individual fold and bag and then shipped to multiple people, through the distributor's customers. So and on the decoration side, it's really, it starts with, our distributor's customer, what they want to do, right? And we rely on the distributor sales rep to send that to us and give, we need to let them know what's the best way to decorate this item, right? Whether it's embroidery or screen printing, or if it's multicolor, you're going to DTF it, DTG it, what's the pros and cons of doing the different types of decoration. So a lot of it's, best practices, educating distributor salespeople on, the best way to decorate a certain product,
Yeah. No, absolutely. And I definitely want to dive into that.
Yeah.
Because you had said in the very beginning, and, times have definitely changed. I mean, when you first started 30 years ago, it was, probably screen printing and embroidery. Like there wasn't the modern technology, there wasn't the laser engraving, there wasn't the pad printing, there wasn't the digital direct to garment, direct to film printing. And, a lot of people, when they go to stuff, we see it daily, right? Where people are coming and they just expect things to get screen printed. And, I see it, and we try to have the same conversations and educating our clients of, hey, we can do this, we can do this, we can do this. Here's the pros and here's the cons of it, right? Direct to garment, it's going to fade a little bit. Film, it could peel and crack it, or, and the different pros and the different cons, and, here's the price point and stuff like that. And some of the bigger companies, they don't care. They print it however it needs to be printed, and they ship it out. And then the client isn't happy with the end result. But I really want to dive into the different, the different methods, not necessarily what each one of them are, but just how times have changed. And then I want to jump into another topic you touched on here as well, with just kind of like the systems and the technology, because
Yeah.
this industry is constantly changing. But it went from the catalog heavy sales, right? Here's a catalog, pick something,
Yeah.
to now, just slapping your logo on something, making the difference that it used to back, 30 years ago. Back, 30 years ago, you were able to do it, right? Here's a catalog, throw your logo on it. But now with so many more businesses popping every single day, especially, we work with a lot of companies in the trades industry. I feel like there's a new roofing, a new plumbing, a new company starting every single day in each community. It's how do you really stand out? I'm sorry, from your so yeah, touch on the newer decoration methods, and really like what to think about when you're using a logo. Because a lot of people, some people have simple logos, 1, 2 colors, and then some people have logos that are 10 plus colors, and the things that they can look at into making sure that they're still getting quality products to represent their brand. Because I see it all the time where people spend thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars on their logo, on their website, on their brand, and then they go and they hand a piece of crap, t-shirt, and they simplify their cool logo to one color because that's what their decorator, or that's what, their sales guy said. Oh, well, we can't do this. Well, no, you can, but there could be pros and cons to it. So if you could dive into that a little bit for me, I think the audience would love to hear it.
Yeah. Well, 30 years ago, we were printing 50/50 t-shirts. Today's market, you have all sorts of different garment types. The performance, the moisture wicking, spandex. So that's a really big part of it, is the garment that you're selling, and how are you going to decorate that garment? Because if you look at the PGA Tour, a lot of them now are going with DTF transfers on their shirts. Some of this stuff really puckers, right? Even though thread tensions and bobbin tensions and all that kind of stuff, you can control it, but the fabric is so lightweight, right? So a lot of it has to do with the garment and the best way to decorate that garment. And when it comes to the logo, is embroidered logos, lettering needs to be 1/4 of an inch or higher to make it look clean, right?
Yeah.
And these marketing companies develop these logos for these companies, not keeping the decoration in mind. You could print anything in the world on paper, right? Business cards, letterhead. But when it comes to decorating embroidery, you're taking a needle and jabbing that garment, 3,000 times, because it's got 3,000 stitches in it. There's not a lot of room for a needle to work inside a garment, right? Especially if it's a more difficult garment to embroider. So, my suggestion is, when you're selling somebody an apparel piece, obviously look at the logo and see how best that's going to fit on that particular type of garment.
For sure.
A lot of distributor sales reps will send me, here's what we're going to do. Here's the logo. And then I'll just give them recommendations, but they always tend to forget what garment it's going on. So I'm always asking them, what is this going on? Because it's really important. Doing screen printing on 100% polyester, right? You can use water-based, but you can use plastisol, but plastisol is going to be much better on a performance moisture wicking type of product, right? And do you want
some kind of poly backer?
Exactly. Do you want to put a 10 color, screen print, real big on the front of a moisture wicking shirt, right? So it's the garment, and it's the logo, giving the people the right direction of the best way to decorate that garment.
Yeah, and the garment definitely plays the biggest role first and foremost, and then, like you said, the logo, and that goes for the market, for marketing agencies out there, and the designers, of keeping those things in mind, right? Well, one of the biggest things we see all the time in embroidery is the trademark logo, the trademark R.
Yep.
Like, unless you're making it big enough, that logo will never come out. And we talk to people and we're like, hey, can we remove it? And they're like, well,
it's our logo.
I'm like, well, look, I'll do it, but it's just gonna be a dot. It is not going to turn out. It is just going to be a dot. So if you want it to look like crap, sure, we'll leave it. I understand you paid a ton of money to have a trademark logo or a trademark word mark,
Right.
slogan or whatever it is, fine. But that's the case. And then even just the garment, like, and going into embroidery.
On a knit hat, for instance,
Yeah.
you want a little TM on a knit hat, it's just going to get soaked into that knit of that beanie,
Yep.
So you got to make it bigger. It's not going to, if you want it on there, it's going to be bigger than what it should be or what you want it to be as a trademark.
Yeah. And even just the difference of, we did some bathrobes, right? And it's just a fuzzy, dense shirt. Like the embroidery needs to change versus if you were just doing it on a polo. And I love the fact that you said a lot of the PGA guys are going to, direct to film or heat transfers and stuff like that. And it's funny because I came from a golf apparel. I used to own a golf apparel company, and we had some guys on PGA Tour, and we made the switch because they had left logo, or left chest, right chest. They had sleeve, sleeve. They had back yoke, and it was like, look, we can embroider all of this, but next thing your shirt weighs 10 pounds more, and you still got to perform at the highest level. So we started doing it, and it was cleaner.
It's a
so
lot.
It's funny you said that. Yeah, super lightweight. And those guys, I mean, they got thousands of different shirts. It doesn't even matter to them about it. But no, the garment is. We see it all the time. People are like, well, what type of garment do you want? And they're like, oh, I don't know. I want the most breathable. I want dry fit. I want the most breathable. Well, dry fit is not the most breathable.
Yeah, right.
Cotton is the most breathable fabric on the market, but people think because all this performance type stuff is used for performance that is the most breathable.
It's not.
And it isn't.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Obviously Under Armour came back out with it many, many years ago. And, it was for training, right? But, we do a lot for distributors, construction work, and we do a lot of 50/50s, because it is lighter weight when we're screen printing for the construction world, the high vis, so I always, I do recommend doing a 50 because it is a little bit lighter weight than 100% cotton. So, but again, it's not as easy as it used to be,
Yep.
I sit at my desk all day and just work with distributors on, their logo, what product it's going on, and all the detail that is needed, and it is so important that we get that detail as a decorator, because if you don't, that's how mistakes happen, right?
For sure. For sure.
Having the correct logos and purchase orders and that kind of stuff, and doing proofing and making sure that, they're relaying to their customer how this is going to be decorated.
Yeah. We see it all the time with like waterproof jackets or, puffer vests.
Yeah.
Right. They have this waterproof layer, and people are like, well, we want to embroider our logo on it.
It's not waterproof anymore.
And that's exactly what we say. Say, listen, we can do it if that is what you want. For the most part, we can do it. I don't want to say every product we can do it. We can definitely do it, but understand now we are poking, like you said, 3,000 to 10,000 stitches,
right,
and holes into that fabric. Now, there is little things that we can do on the decoration side to try to make it back to being waterproof, but will it ever be 100% waterproof like the garment was actually made? No, because we just put 3,000. So now how can we alter and change, and what other decoration methods can we do, whether it's digital, whether it's a heat transfer, whether it's a silicone patch, or whatever that case may be, to still make your logo. And there are options out there, and for the marketing agencies and the founders and the companies out there that are looking to get these things done, there are the solutions. And if people tell you that they're not, it's just because they can't do it, and that's where people like yourselves, I mean, KP Innovations, we stand out with the ability to have, whether we do it directly in-house or whether we have some, different, people and contractors to do it. I mean, not all of us can afford the machinery to do every single decoration because, again, this isn't 30 years ago.
Right.
This isn't, hey, let's have a 8-color automatic, screen press or manual probably back then.
That's what it was.
There
back
was
then.
no automatic back then, and an embroidery machine. Okay, well, no, like now we need pad printing. Now you need laser, and chances are, if you're doing that stuff, you're not just having one. But those things can be done, and that's how you can still have your logo on quality products the way that you want it. And you like, I hate watching people settle on things. Again, people spend so much money on brand, and then they're like, we're just gonna settle, and we're just gonna
Do it this
put
way.
our logo in a one color because it's just the way we could do it, or it's the cheapest option. Everything that we make, everything that you put your logo on represents your brand, whether it's intentional or not. And that is the biggest thing we are trying to imply on this show, and through KP Innovations and Beyond the Swag, is everything that we do is marketing. Everything. We are all marketing and sales companies. You're a marketing and sales company. I'm a marketing and sales company. A roofer is a marketing and sales company. And it's how can we build the trust? I tell roofers all the time, you're not a roofing company. You are a marketing and a sales company. You are not trying to sell the client a roof. And I love when I tell people that, because they look at me and they're like, what? Yeah, we are. And I'm like, no, you're not. You are building trust that you can do the job right, that they can trust you, and that you're going to show up and do the job. And a lot of that comes down to the presentation that you show your company. And that goes beyond just the logo on the website.
Yeah.
Is your truck wrapped? Is your guy showing up in a professional looking polo or t-shirt or hoodie? Do you have, I don't want to say, do you have yard signs and flyers and all this other stuff, but you look at some of the biggest companies in all of these industries, no matter what they are.
Yeah.
Promotional products is not just apparel and hats. It's everything.
It's
folders, business cards, that's all promotional, and everything works together.
Yeah. Well, a roofing company, you're right. As long as they do their job, right? And everybody knows from the logo that they're wearing, and they came and kicked ass and got the roof done, they're going to let everybody else know that this roofing company did it for us, right? So you are marketing future jobs to do that, right? But if you came and you didn't do your job, and your guys are, dressed in flannel shirts without the, man, it's so impressive when somebody does come to my house and they're all dialed in, right? And they all have their gear on and they're looking good. You're right. They are a marketing company. They're doing their job.
They make you feel that you can trust them. When they show up in a branded truck and they get out and they're wearing a nice polo that doesn't look like they slept in it for the last 3 days, because it's got oil stains and dirty and all that kind of stuff, and they show up presentable. They got their, branded folder that they're handing you with all the paperwork, the estimate, their business card, the company's information. And then you get the next guy who's the small mom and pop, and I'm not knocking any of those companies, but you're like, okay, which one can I trust more that they're going to do the job right, do the job the way they say it, do the job on time, and the money that I'm about to now spend and invest in whatever I'm doing, whether it's a roof, a plumbing, or a financial firm, or a car, like, what are you going to get, right? If you buy a used car from a dealership versus, a small corner shop, which one do you trust? The dealer, probably the dealership, because they've got the mechanics, like they're making sure that it's safe because they have a huge liability with the brand that they represent.
Right.
And it is crazy. Again, we see it all the time, and I know you see it all the time, just the stuff that gets thrown out there to just settle on it. Like everything that you put your brand on, everything that you put your logo and your company in, is a direct representation of what you do. And with that, one of the things we're trying to do, and you were hitting on it a little bit, is obviously the technology and the systems that you guys have to use, and even us distributors, but they all go back to the end client. When we first started pitching promo systems with KP Innovations, we got a lot of looks like, how's apparel a system? And everybody directly thinks about it as technology. Now, while we have technology on our end to do what we're, working, what kind of system, what kind of procedures are we going through to represent our brand, right? And we were just hitting on it, right? With, hey, when somebody gets hired, they get 2 t-shirts, 2 long sleeves, 2 hoodies, and a hat. Okay. And when we go to a client's house, we have this branded folder and my business card and a brochure and a letterhead or whatever the case may be. Like, those are all systems that are working in your marketing department. And one of the biggest things on this podcast that we are stressing is merch is media. Merch is not a line item expense that, hey, we have leftover budget. Everything, again, I can't say it enough. Everything you put your logo on is that. And you're doing it. You just said, you talked about it earlier on the show, 25,000 t-shirts to 25,000 locations. You can't do that without a system.
No,
your client can't do that without you helping them build a system so that they can come to somebody that they trust, and get it done to where it's not 7-month process trying to figure this out. It's like, hey, we need to do this to represent our company. We need our employees to wear our t-shirts. We need them to, again, they need to wear our t-shirts because they're representing our company. We want to create something that they want to wear so that they become a billboard for us. But it's, how can businesses, and I want to hear this from you, is like, how can businesses really focus on the systems and technology to streamline the usage of their promotional products, whether it's apparel, whether it's hard goods, to, simplify to where it's like, hey, we need, 1,000 pens for our trade show, or, hey, we need 25,000 t-shirts for our staff. Like, from your experience, because again, you got more experience than I do. I want to hear, how these companies that are utilizing the systems, I mean, you can see it firsthand, how they're more successful than the companies that are coming in, ordering and saying, hey, we need these tomorrow. And now they're paying, a 200% markup because you got to figure out how to get the product and ship it out immediately.
Yeah. Rush fees are horrible, right? I don't like charging them, but
me neither.
It stinks, and we'll do everything we possibly can, not to do rush fees, right? We'll adjust our schedule and that kind of stuff. But I want to go back real quick on, when that new employee gets that welcome kit, right? And they open it up and they got their 2 t-shirts, they got a tumbler, that makes a really big impression on that employee, right?
Yeah.
It's neatly in a box. It's neatly folded. He's going to go, wow, right, man, this is, I'm glad I worked for this company,
I'm joining something. Yeah. I feel appreciated already.
Exactly. Exactly. So, the process is, I've got a sheet is basically, I said to our distributor, our customers, and it says right at the top, are we a good fit? And it has just certain ways that we run our business and how we receive our orders. And it's basically instructions, it's, getting the vector artwork, right? We
got to touch on that, but go ahead.
Yeah.
Keep going.
Yeah, getting clear purchase orders and instructions. We're on our customer service order entry, we're basically playing copycat from what the people give us, right? We're taking what they give us and we're putting it into our system. And if it's wrong going into our system, then it's going to screw up the whole thing down the line, right? And it's going to cause delays. It's going to cause a lot of emails back and forth. We don't have the right artwork, salesmen are salesmen. They're out selling. And sometimes you're delaying 1, 2, or 3 days waiting for the right artwork to come back because it's stopped right now. We use a system here called Shopworks. And Shopworks is a industry software production system. We have our calendar. We have, order entry goes into our system. It gets a new design number. So that logo has a specific design number. So if they want to come back and reorder that, we know exactly where to go for that design number in our system. So, the old saying, garbage in, garbage out, right? And with not trained our staff, but our staff knows if we don't have all the information going into our system that we need, that's going to make it a clean order, then, we put it on hold, and we communicate back and forth with the customer. But, the clock doesn't start ticking for a decorator until that order's in the system, right? Our production time, usually 7 to 10 days after proof approval. and goods received. And, we stick to that. And if there's any delays, that production time just keeps going farther and farther back. And that's one of our
which is why there are rush fees, right? Like because there's all this process has to be timed in, and it's so important to make sure that when you're ordering stuff, and this goes for anything, and just is making sure the details are extremely detailed. Like when you are ordering something, if a marketing agency comes to us, like making sure we know exactly what they're expecting. So that if we're doing it in-house, the sales guys, they understand, hey, this is what we need, so that I can translate it and put it in my PO and put it in my order, and make sure that whoever is doing the decoration, whether it's us in-house or whether it's one of our suppliers, this is exactly what we are expecting.
Yeah.
And if anything looks off, we need to to talk about it, and it delays
things.
And right? It delays everything.
It delays everything. And that really messes up your production calendar in the back in production, right? Because, if we finally get approval and the customer, the order's been in a week and we finally get the goods, they're expecting us to do it the next day, right? But our time is 7 to 10 days after proof approval and receipt of goods. So, we're constantly communicating that. And when I do my quotes with my customer out of our system, we have SKUs that have, specific detailed of how we produce our orders. This is what we need. This is our time frame. And then, sometimes we'll get incomplete purchase orders. Again, it's attention to detail. We'll get a purchase order, and then, we'll send it to the customer, and they say, oh, they're supposed to be polybagged and folded. Well, that wasn't on your purchase order. So the attention to detail is so important, because it's not like we're going back there and picking widgets and throwing them in 50 widgets in a box. This is custom-made product,
Yeah.
And
once it's made, it's made. There's no turning back.
Yeah, and you're partnering with somebody to build their brand, right?
Yeah.
But a lot of the time, our distributors' customers don't provide them the information they need to.
Right.
They may not send them the vector art, but they may send them a low-res JPEG, and then we need vector art. And then they'll take that low-res JPEG and just convert it into a PDF, even though it's a low-res JPEG.
No, and I want to touch on that, because you mentioned it, and I'm glad you just brought it up again. Like, please, 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 as a decorator, because we deal with it all the time, trying to explain it to people. And I know other distributors and people that are like us are going through the same process. Why is a vector file so important to being able to give a quality product? Please tell us from the decorator side, because you guys are the ones dealing with it. I want to hear it from somebody other than my mouth.
Yeah, it's clean. It's clean artwork, right? And when a graphic artist gets vector art, you can go with it, right? You can do your mock-ups, you can do your proofs, and it's clean. We get something low res, you can't adjust the size. You just can't work with it the way you can with vector art. I said it one time, garbage in, garbage out. And if we're going to use a JPEG, and there are certain things that you can use decoration-wise.
Sure.
A high-res JPEG, we can use that to laser, right? But it's got to be a high-res JPEG file, right?
Mm-hmm.
I normally don't. I want a PDF or a vector art.
Yeah.
But it's just not clean artwork. And offset printing companies, paper printing companies, they won't accept anything that's not vector or high res. And when a customer sends us an opportunity and I see a branding guideline PDF, I'm just thrilled. I'm like, wow, this is it,
Yeah.
This is it. This is the, and I just wish every company out there, and you can't, small business, you can't afford to have a marketing company put a branding guideline together for you. But,
but it's not everybody can afford it. You're 100% right.
Right.
But
it
is so important to invest in one. And it really is. I know, whatever people charge, I know what we charge, and I've heard prices from, $1,000 or $500, and I've heard things of 30,000 plus. Having a brand guide is 100% worth the investment, because again, it is creating our brand, and everything that we do, whether it is apparel, whether it is paper, whether it is custom checks, whether it is your return label on your envelope, is creating your brand. And what a brand guide does is it allows anybody that is going to help you with your brand, whether it isn't a decorator, whether it is business a contractor, whoever, business, other owners, like, it allows everybody to know what you expect. Hey, these are my colors. And if you're not creating your colors based off the Pantone system, please fix it now.
Yeah, right.
Because we can get all the other information from a Pantone color. We cannot match your color if it does not directly relate to a Pantone. We can only get it close. But a brand guide tells everybody exactly how we can use your logo when we're designing something for you, how we can apply it. You have a small application. We have a client right now. They send me their logo, and sometimes they're sending me the same logo, but it's sized differently for a reason, and it is exactly how they expect us to utilize it. And it's awesome. Like, it's a part, like we throw a party in here when we get the correct stuff, because it makes our lives easier. And we hate being the guys that say, hey, we can't use this. We need to charge you X, Y, and Z to recreate your logo. Well, what do you mean? I already paid somebody to do that. Yeah, well, unfortunately, you don't have a vector file.
Yeah.
You gave me a crappy PNG, and listen, if I use it, you're not going to be happy with the product, and you're going to give me a 1-star review. And at the end of the day, I'm not going to do your project.
Yeah.
Because I value what we put out as a company. And people just don't understand, even with DST files or embroidery files, what goes into that, and the importance of having good artwork so that when you go to create that file, you can get a clean embroidery.
You're right. And, there's online art companies nowadays that are really reasonable. We had an order a little bit ago, and one of the employees hand drew the logo. It was an octopus, and he hand drew it. So I know it's not going to be vector art, right? So he scans it in his, and sends it to us, and boom, red flag. I'm like, it's not, and he understood that. And I said, for my artist to go in there and vectorize it, we're going to charge you an art charge. And he had no problem doing that. What we did on our end is I sent him back that vector art. He may want to use that for something else down the road, sure. So we always provide if we're going to do the artwork and turn it into vector for our customer, I always send it back to him and say, send this to your customer and put it in a folder on your computer under vector art. So when you go to do something, you're not sending them a low res JPEG, artwork is so important, and because again, it's the result for bad artwork is going to be bad decoration for us, and we don't want to be, Oop, you there?
I'm here. Yep. Yeah. And I think one thing too that people don't realize is gradients.
All right. Yes.
And the process of gradients, hey, can you embroider this logo? Well, yeah, but I can't embroider a gradient.
Yeah. A million little dots.
We can try, but it's not, it's not going to be it's not going to be like it is on a computer.
Yeah.
And
let's do DTF
even,
on it.
screen printing.
Let's do DTF on that. Right. So giving them those options when they do send it to us, you can't embroider this. Many times I get
understanding screen printing.
Yes, exactly. Yep. Exactly. So artwork is really important. And then again, the process of, getting the order into the system, and then we could, within a couple days, we're going to send a proof back along with an order approval that has all the details of what we're doing. Again, we're playing copycat off their purchase order. And, it's really important. Our system will send a proof to our customers, waiting for them to review it, look at it, and then they click on it, approve, disapprove, make changes, whatever. And, our system's doing it. If we don't hear back from them in 24 hours, they approved it, then it sends them another reminder saying, hey, you got to approve this or not, or let us know. and then, getting it out to the floor, obviously that's a whole production process, but, having as much detailed information as we possibly can have on the order just makes it go so much smoother.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah, and the one last thing I want to touch on with you is part of that system, and we've been trying to express it more and more with our clients now is creating the system from the apparel side to help streamline these things, right? We're always ordering, hey, we're ordering this t-shirt with this design. This is what every single one of our employees get. And we know that we're ordering this constantly. And we've started creating stores for people where everything is already there, right? Like, hey, we know this is what we are going to order. These are our folders. These are our business cards. Yes, the numbers and the phone, the names and the phone numbers and emails are going to change for little things like that. But this is the t-shirt. This is the hat. This is the hoodie. This is the folder. This is the flyer that we're going to utilize. And we put all of that into one place that once we do it once and everything's approved, now we have this in a store, in a little system that only your team can access, and we can create it based off of, who can access what. And now when we need it, we order it. And now my life is easier because, okay, we've already done this. We know the system. We know the approval. Like, I don't need to send you a new approval because it's already done. We've already approved it. We put it into this system. So now, instead of spending 1 to 3 days of possible back and forth and approvals and all this other stuff, we have things situated. And yes, there could be additional costs for having these little systems put up, but it saves so much more time, in the long run. And, I'm sure you talked about it early in the show and even before we got on, with people in e-commerce and, having these little stores to where it really streamlines things. It goes directly to whoever is doing the decoration. And once that decoration is done, when we do it once, we have everything set up. And, you spend a week setting all of this up, and now it makes whoever's life easier. We don't have to worry about the changes. We know the colors we're doing, the thread color we're doing, the logo size, and everything is now going to be consistent. And now our brand is becoming consistent. And it's not, well, I bought it from, this company and they use these colors, but then I sent my logo to this company for the second order because they had it slightly a cheaper price. And now the logos don't match. And now my 3 new employees have a shirt that looks slightly different than this one. Like, it adds up and it makes you start to look not that professional, and your appearance is completely different. And that's why, finding that company you can trust to handle your goods is crucial. And, the more you can build a relationship, I know the relationships that we've built here at KP Innovations, hopefully will last a lifetime because, we work with our clients, and as they continue to spend more, we work on getting them better and better pricing, but we have these things set up. Like when someone calls, when, McLaren calls us, we know what we're working with. There's no questions about it.
Yeah.
We know what we're doing. We know the quality that they're looking for. We know they're not looking for, a 10-cent pen that's not going to even write the first time somebody tries to go use it.
Right.
Well,
and different decorators on that point is they all have different thread colors, right? This decorator may use Madeira. This one may use Robertson Anton, right? And, if you're running an e-commerce site, that thread color is going to be very consistent. But if they, this company is using this company for this and this and they're not, you could get different thread colors coming in. And or mixing Pantone colors with ink, right? This screen printer may do it different from this screen printer. So having an e-commerce store that's right there, we love when our customers say we're running an e-commerce store for a company. Can you? And it's like, yeah, and everything's right there. We run, you run swatches, right? So they approve them, and our production people have binders back there of the e-commerce stores that our customers are running for their customers that have all the detailed information of that product that we're decorating for that specific store. And the API connection, coming into our system, and life has really changed with API connections from a store into a decorator system, right? Because again, it's all right there, you know.
Absolutely. Yeah, and I think people always think of e-commerce stores that have to be sales purposes, right? Well, we're not going to create a company store because our employees aren't buying anything. They're not they're not buying their own stuff. We supply it for them. Well, it doesn't have to just be that. It can be just the ordering store process of like, hey, these are the things that are approved by management, by the owner, by the director, whoever, the CMO, because not everybody, we're launching here our playbook here in a few days. And, every company has different people that are making the ordering, right? And everybody wants something different. Our market, the marketing people, they're the biggest brand advocates there are. Right. And the operations guys just want whatever's going to be easiest.
Yeah. Right.
And, and the admin, they just want to make sure that everything's going to be the same and it's simple. And, they're not spending 3 weeks on ordering stuff. And obviously, look, people are always going to add stuff, and there's going to be, one-offs and stuff for events and stuff like that. But being able to create this and also being able to think ahead. Right. We talked about rush fees. We talked about shipping. Like, we watch companies all the time that they go to the same conference every year in March or February or January. And then they wait for like 3 weeks before and they're like, hey, can you get us 15,000 of these? And it's like, well, no.
You knew you were going
or the
there,
price
right?
is higher. You've known for 12 months that you were going to this or that you have this because you do it every year.
Yeah.
Order in advance. Order in advance. The holidays. Our clients know if you order. Our existing clients know if you order in December, you're getting hit with a higher price.
Yeah. Yeah. Many states have safety weeks for construction, right? They know it's coming up, right? If you had an e-commerce store, the ops guy, can start working on that, 6 weeks before safety week instead of 2 weeks before safety week and get his orders, and it just really makes things organized when you are running an e-commerce store.
Yeah. And you don't have to worry about the whole back and forth. Like, hey, we want this. Hey, we have this conference coming up. We're ordering a bunch of pens. Now it needs to go to this person. Well, that person's out on vacation for a week and they're the only one that can approve it. No, like, we created this system. We created this store that can be completely separate than people being able to buy other stuff. But this is like, hey, when we need to order stuff for conferences, for new employees, for new hires, for partners, for vendors, whatever the case may be, here's the approved list. And then obviously you give it to whoever the approved people are that are allowed to go order it. But it eliminates the back and forth between you, the client, and us. But it also eliminates the back and forth of the 5 different channels that it might have to go through in your office.
Yeah.
By just spending 1 week, even if it's 2 weeks, working with the company that you're working with to create this system.
Yeah.
To have everything standardized so that your company is represented the best way possible, because promotional products help marketing on a daily basis. The company t-shirts is marketing.
Yep.
When people are out in the field, when guys go home from work and they stop at McDonald's or they stop at a local restaurant and get some food for their family on their way home from work and they're wearing your shirt, it could register your next client.
Yeah. As you being in the industry and me, I'm always looking at when I'm at a restaurant or wherever, store,
I judge too many people with it.
I'm always looking at people's shirts, right? And how they decorate them. And, if it's a company that I would use, right? Taking pictures of back of shirts for services, right? Like, yeah, this guy's got a nice shirt. I'm going to call this construction company or this cleaning company or whatever, So it's a fun industry, man. It is a fun industry. That's why I've been doing it for 30 years. And, when I first opened up my box of apparel, I had another screen printer in 1989 do it for us. Right. And I opened it up and I delivered it to the customer, and the customer was just like, wow, they were neatly packed in there, And I just saw his reaction. I was still on a beer truck, but I saw his reaction. I was like, man, this is fun. This is a cool industry. And I still do that today, with stuff that we produce out there. And, when you have your brand, when you have a great product and it's presented to your customer well, you got that customer for life, man.
Yeah. And you touched on, I do it, and I know you do it because we're in the industry. We're always looking. I was at a conference in December, and I was the only promo guy there, and I was walking around looking at everybody's booth and everybody's promo. And, I had a couple of people I was talking to, and they're like, our stuff sucks. And I'm like, well, then you're telling me your brand sucks because you're not willing to invest. And I'm not talking about, going to buying $15 pens or $60 pens. Like, I get it. Some stuff is giveaway. There's purposes for different things, but having that purpose, there's other people out there. I mean, we've all known of a really cool thing that we saw and we wanted one.
Yep.
We had a new client come in. They saw one of our clients' hats, and they're like, "We want that
hat,
but for
right,
our
exactly,
brand."
100%.
And you get something cool at an event, whether it's a golf tournament or a trade show, and it's cool and you like it and it's different. You use it, and now every time that's being used, your brand is in front of that person, their friends, their family, their coworkers, and you're always right there in peace of mind.
Yeah.
Nothing else in the world has that impact. Ads come and go in 10, 20, 30 seconds, 5 seconds, whatever the case may be.
Right.
You give somebody, I got a koozie. I hate koozies. I absolutely hate koozies.
Right.
Like they drive, I hate koozies with a burning passion. I roll my eyes behind the screen when somebody comes and wants to order a koozie. But a supplier gave me a koozie, and on the back of the koozie, it said, "This beer goes down like a fat guy on a seesaw." I loved it. It's my favorite koozie. I hate koozies, but I loved it.
Yeah, my golf
And I was like, I will forever use this koozie. But again, like, it was something stupid, simple, but just different that I'm going to keep, and I hate koozies.
Yeah.
Like, let alone people that like koozies are going to love it. Like, and it was just something like that. Like, and now he's always in front of me and friends. And, we go out and tailgate, and I'm putting soda cans in it just because I want to use this damn koozie because of the saying it is.
It's because it's funny. Right? Exactly.
And it's just, when you create cool stuff, it makes a general impact. But Eric, hey, I really appreciate your time. I appreciate you working on and helping the education from a decorator side of things, the vector artwork, the systems and the technology, and the importance of all of that stuff in the promotional product world. People think about this industry all the time about just being hats and t-shirts and, all this little cheap stuff. And that kind of used to be where we were, 30 plus years ago.
Right.
It didn't really matter. Nowadays, it's how can we build trust? How can we look presentable? How can we stand out from the competition? Because there are obviously every year we continue, in this lifetime, there are more and more businesses growing and starting, and, there's more and more competition. I'm sure when you started, there was not as many distributors and screen printers as there are now.
Yeah.
Now you look at it, they're every corner in every town.
Yeah.
So everything's completely evolving. So I really appreciate your time hopping on the show. I appreciate your time, out of your busy day to help educate the audience on the importance of, the product selection. And then once we have that product selection that we actually want, the best decoration method to give a quality product that can best represent our brand.
Apparel and promotional products are so much more lasting than an ad on the radio, I think.
100%. 100%.
So,
I mean, and like I said, anything, whether it's an ad you see on social media, that's a couple seconds.
Yeah.
Whether it is a radio, ad, or a podcast ad, or a billboard that you drive by going 90 miles per hour, hopefully not.
Yeah, right.
That was just the first number that came to my head.
Yeah, that's a little scary.
But sorry, police.
But yeah,
but
makes a lasting impression.
It goes right by. The bumper sticker that someone car you drive by.
Yeah.
The pizza box that somebody gets, but then they throw out.
Yeah.
Like it's in, and if you do it right, you will see the return.
You're going to be successful.
You will be successful.
Yep.
When you do it wrong, there's a reason why people think it doesn't work, and it's because you're doing it wrong.
Yep.
At KP Innovations, we offer people free audits so that we can look into what you're doing.
Nice.
How you can change, and we look into it, whether it's you're ordering too late and you're paying expedited shipping or rush fees. And, that's why now instead of paying, $500, you're paying $1,000. Well, now you need to make $1,000, and you knew you were never going to make $1,000 with your return with what you were doing. So, and we look into all of that with people, to best, because again, you said it early on that there's a reason this industry is successful. And it's because everybody uses
billions of dollars. It's billions of dollars, right? And yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's awesome.
Awesome. Oh, I appreciate it again, Eric.
No
Thank
problem.
you.
That wraps up this episode of Beyond the Swag, Merch is Media. If this conversation made you think differently about how your brand shows up, that's the point. Because merch isn't just a product, it's a message and it's media. If you enjoyed this episode, make sure to subscribe, leave a review, and share it with someone who should hear it. Thanks for listening. I'm your host, Kevin Patrick, and I'll see you on the next episode of Beyond the Swag.